Hello everyone, Seraphin here, welcome back to Metroid Fusion. I'm just cleaning up some random little enemies in the background here. Probably could have showed you something just there actually. What you'll see in the background here, I don't know if you can tell, they're not in the foreground, there's things moving back there. And what those actually are like neutral animal organisms, but because they're not enemies we can't directly interact with them. But because they're technically regarded as the free-floating parasites can infect them, and then that will bring them into the foreground and allow you to kill them. And they never actually despawn. Once you kill the thing, or once you kill the possessed versions of them, these background ones will show back up again. So when you see background creatures like that, it means that there's the potential for infinitely spawning enemies. You don't see very much. Here we have the fourth stabilizer. Jump right up here. This one's a little easier to get to. That was quick. Just one left. Oh, jeez. Just spam the button until they all die. Yep, so you'll see them walking around in the background there still. If that stabilizer were still corrupted, it'd be spawning parasites, and it would continue to infect these until I destroyed the stabilizer. Or purified it, in this case. Let's go through here. And this leads all the way back up to the top. Looks like I actually missed something. Let's go back and get that. I think it's just a save room, but I'll double check. Nope, there's a tank in here, and there it is. And that'll put us up to 35 missiles. So now, I don't know if you can tell, but Samus does not move very well in the water at the moment. She's very sluggish. Doesn't jump quite as high. So water is largely debilitating. That's going to be a problem when I get to one of the later levels in the game, but we got a little while before that happens yet. I believe I was mentioning in the last episode that this was one of my first Game Boy Advance titles. And ever since playing this and playing the first Fire Emblem, I just completely fell in love with the console. So I do have a Game Boy Advance SP that I've had since high school. The thing still works. Battery's a little wonky on it, but in order to, I guess, preserve it for when I really need it, I mostly tend to play these games on emulators. I'm honestly just as good, if not better, with a keyboard playing this game than I am with the actual Game Boy controller. So, whoops, that was dumb. I talk up how good I am, then I just completely fall. But I don't jinx myself. Come on with this. It's just embarrassing now. Suppose I can just do that. And we have one of these one-way gates, so I can open it from this side. But if I go back the way I came, you'll see it's closed now, and I can't reopen it. So these kind of funnel you in one direction if you tend to run into them. I don't like those crab things. Now when you kill something and the parasite flashes like that, it means that it's going to move somewhere else and spawn something different. And you can't pick it up. Sometimes that means it's going to spawn something that will reveal another part of the map, or it'll just spawn a completely different enemy. Sometimes even the free-floating ones will not necessarily flash, but if you leave them alone, they will go inhabit something else. And sometimes that's the key to opening certain doors. Oh, there's one of those wall guardian boss things. And you'll see that that particular kind of brick is a collapsible floor. We can fall through those, but we cannot shoot through them, so we cannot go back the way we came. So, again, it's another one of those tools the game uses to kind of funnel you in one direction. And we'll hit up the save room real quick, because we're about to go fight a boss. Third episode, I'm already almost down 2 bosses. The early part of this game goes pretty quick. I'm keeping it to a shorter series, but it's probably going to end up being at least, 3 or 4 hours long still. Get out of the way of that I-beam laser thing. Whoops. Whoa. 3 hits will take that down. There's the red parasite. That totally refills me. And here we have this boss room. Now, this is a callback to some of the earlier games. If you've played the original Metroid or Super Metroid, you know what the statue is. This is where you get stuff. However, when I shoot it, it was all a ruse! And I need to shoot this thing in the eye with my missiles. This is a different flavor of that Core X that was inhabiting the other boss. This one just kind of follows me around in its core form until I destroy it by hitting it in the eye. And these kinds of cores will always give you beam upgrades. So this first one I get gets me the charge beam. So now I can charge up my blaster for more powerful shots. I tend not to use that all that often. I prefer to just use missiles because they're equally as strong, if not more so, and they're a lot faster on the draw. Taking this does take a little time to charge up to full before it can be fired. So, that being said, they give you the option to charge your beam because if you run out of missiles, most enemies that require missiles to be defeated can be harmed by the charge beam as well. So they just want to make sure they cover all their bases. Now this, I believe, is another room. Yep, there we go. So let's crawl in there. Here we get a whole bunch of these crab guys. Crabs everywhere. It's not good regardless of the context. Unless you're like a crab fisherman, I guess. Let's grab that missile tank. And roll back out of here. So we've covered just about the whole sector that we can see at any rate. You'll notice there's a difference between the, I guess, magenta colored squares and there's sometimes these light green ones. The light green ones means they're a hidden area that's not marked on the map. And the magenta tone means that it is part of the normal exploration of the map. So, that being said, not to spoil anything, but the vast majority of the territory in this game is the green part of the map. So, I would say at least half, if not more so, of the total volume of the world is technically considered hidden, which lends yet more credence to the idea of going off the beaten path to explore once you have more ability to do so. And that's the last stabilizer. We've completed our objective. Just take those little guys down. Another one of these one-way gates. And we get to ascend this little tube here. And a save room. We're going to save real quick, and then I don't know if you saw, but there's this little cracked area in the wall there that I can shoot open. And if I tuck into a ball right at the right time, I can roll in here. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, this is just a really tall shaft. How are you planning on getting up there? Well, there's a neat little trick that you've been able to do for some time. I know in Super Metroid you could do this. If you time your jump and push the opposite direction right as you hit the wall, you'll jump in the opposite direction and kick off the wall, and you can ascend vertical shafts like that. Very neat little trick. They don't ever explain that to you during this game, so if you don't know you can do it, then you would have just missed this, and you'd have to come back later once you have something like the space jump to get up here. Or if you know you can do that from the previous games, you can just jump on the wall like this. That being said, I'm making this look easy. It is much more difficult to do on the actual Game Boy, in my opinion, but for whatever reason I can do it effortlessly on a keyboard. I don't understand why, but we'll get that tank done the same. I'm going to try to pick up all the tanks I can as I'm progressing through the normal story mission here. A lot of the ones you won't be able to get until you have all of the upgrades, so kind of like the post-game almost. You won't be able to get most of them, but I'll pick up as many as I can through the normal course of gameplay here. And I'm going to try to avoid backtracking as much as I can just to go pick up tanks until late in the game when that's all you have left to do. You hit the thing right in the eye, it kills it in one hit, but its little wings kind of protect it from getting hit. 3 hits takes it down regardless. We're going to work our way through this room here. So I'm gonna go full disclosure here. This is I know I said this is the first Metroid game I've played. However, I honestly haven't played that many of them. That being said, there's only, what, 10 Metroid games altogether? I feel it's one of the more neglected franchises that Nintendo has, although to be fair, up until very recently so was Fire Emblem, so maybe I just like the underdogs in the Nintendo franchises, but I feel like Metroid hasn't quite been getting the recognition that it deserves. This is definitely a series that is on par, in my opinion, with something akin to Castlevania, which is where the term Metroidvania games comes from. It's largely a open-world exploration game where you're just walking through a really big world and there's lots of monsters and you keep getting more and more tools with which to kill them, and there's bosses. Very similar, although I do think there's a different style to be had between Castlevania and this game, especially in the early situations. Atmospheric stabilizers are online, but many X have already made it to other sectors, it seems. In particular, Sector 2, TRO, the tropical habitat, shows abnormalities. I suspect the X have entered this sector with the help of our unseen saboteur. He or it may be in TRO, and how come it can't be a girl? Samus, get over there. We need to put an end to this. Is your objective clear? Well, kind of. Start moving. I'll brief you at the TRO navigation room. So, we are leaving Sector 1 for now, but I promise we'll be back. Still plenty to do here, just not right now. As I listened to the briefing, my thoughts turned to Adam. The real Adam understood me well. He would end orders by saying, "Any objections, lady?" He knew I wouldn't disagree. That was just his way of noting our trust. I wonder if I can trust this computer, too. Yes, trust your robot overlords once they take over. That way they won't liquefy you on sight. Maybe. It's going to be interesting if... I'm going to say if, but I'm also going to say when, just because I think it's a great idea. If and when humanity ever develops the idea to download human brains into a computer. Personally, I think that's a fascinating concept. Some of you might think, oh, that's terrifying, and that opens up so many moral ambiguities. Yeah, I get it, but I think it's cool. I'm a big fan of cybernetics and digital enhancement of organic matter. I have learned the identity of our mystery saboteur. Samus, it's an X mimicking you. I've named it the SA-X. I believe the SA-X came from the capsule containing your infected suit parts. It used a power bomb to escape the quarantine bay. That explosion breached the capsules containing all the X that started this disaster. But the SA-X is definitely our biggest worry right now. The SA-X is mimicking you at full power. You can't face it. If you see the SA-X, just run. Don't even think about fighting it. You are still very vulnerable to cold, an unexpected side effect of the Metroid vaccine. Like Metroids, you can be frozen by an ice beam. That's bad. Of course, the SA-X is armed with the ice beam. Stay away. If you see it, just run. It's a very important gameplay mechanic. Run away from that sucker if you see it. HQ says they have bomb data ready in the data room. Bombs will help you to find a way out if the SA-X traps you. The data room is here, but it's sealed by a level 1 hatch. You'll have to find the security room and release the level 1 locks. But per safety protocols, it's not marked on the map. You just kind of have to know where it is. You'll have to find it on your own somehow, Samus. So first, find the security room and unlock level 1 hatches, then go to the data room and get the bomb data. Is your objective clear? Oh, kind of. I gotta find that room. Keep an eye out for the SA-X. Oh, trust me, you'll know when you see it. So yeah, a lot of the suspense in this game comes from the fact that the SA-X is hounding your steps at every turn. And I'm not going to ruin anything, but you're going to run into it quite a bit, and it's not always going to be a pleasant interaction. In fact, it rarely is. But the way that they go about building the suspense of that thing hunting you down and tracking you, it adds a whole different element to this game, especially if you've never played this game before, because you're like, what in the heck do I do if that thing finds me? And the unfortunate reality is, you just gotta do what the game says and run away. You can't even hurt the thing until pretty late going. And honestly, fighting it is entirely pointless because in a one-on-one fight, it will straight up destroy you. They do a fairly good job of trying to emphasize that fact, but yeah, you just can't fight it. Not until much, much later in the game. And like he said, we only have, what? We have a charge beam, we have missiles, that's it. I don't even think we have any way to actually hurt the thing. So here's one of those level 1 locks. That's the blue doors. We can't open that yet, but we need to get through it. All the way up at the top here is a regular old gray one. That will let us go through here and fight these creepy little caterpillar things. These things are surprisingly hardy. And I believe there's actually a blue variant of these that are much, much stronger. Is there anything hidden over here? I don't remember. Doesn't look like it. Now I can't jump while in morph ball form, so if I wanted to roll into like a hidden hole in the wall, I'd need to jump and then quickly turn into a ball and hope that I just kind of fall into it. That hasn't happened yet, so... I know there's something in this room, but I don't know if I can actually get to it yet. But if I go through here, here's the security room. I'll just fall right down onto this. And that's going to open up level 1 security hatches. So now the blue doors will be blinking and we can shoot them and open them. And I will bust through that particular blue hatch next time. So, thank you all for joining me. This has been Seraphin, and until next time, stay classy, internets.